Zalatoris' dad the Zalatorises were in San Francisco. His dad was transferred to Dallas to be the asset manager of the Galleria Mall and some other hotels here in town, who I already sold electricity to. And so I get a phone call. I mean, the story's crazy if you actually think about it. I get a phone call from Rick Zalatoris. Again, Will's 9 at the time. I obviously don't know who he is. And I get a call from Rick, and I'm getting fired. Like, he's the new asset manager. He's going to tell me, hey, I'm going with my guy. Thanks for the help. And I go in and I've got on a Bent Tree Country Club logo. And he's like, oh, do you play golf? And I'm like, well, this is my only chance of keeping the business. I'm like, yeah, I mean, actually on the Corn Ferry tour right now, as probably random as that sounds, but I entered Q school last year and got through. And he's like, oh, I've got a 9-year-old that you just would never believe watching him hit a golf ball. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. 9-year-old. But it saved me keeping that business for another 15 years. But then we went out and played golf that weekend. I was like, holy shit, this kid, his golf swing looked identical. It was just smaller. He didn't miss the center of the club face as a 9-year-old. It was just
that's just crazy. Like, when did he pick up a club for the first time? I mean, if you doing that at 9, like that's insane. I
mean, it just literally his golf swing. And it's funny because I would love to actually see a video of it. I'm sure he has it, to actually see how accurate my recollection is. But I definitely remember the first time I saw, like, the first shot, I was like, wow, that was a cute little motion, and it was right out of the middle of the club face. Like, that was pretty cool. And so to watch him as a junior qualify for the U.S. Junior at 12, 13, 14, and again, this is when I was playing on the Corn Ferry Tour with limited status, so it's not like I actually had that many starts. But so he's the 9, 10, 11-year-old out there that's just wearing me out, wanting to do chipping and putting contest, and I'm like, whatever, man, let's go, and playing with him. But I wasn't, again, like, I wouldn't even say that I was like mentoring him then. And in hindsight, I definitely was, because we'd talk about how to hit certain shots and whatever. But like, I'm sure 90% of the strategic advice I gave him was just cliche crap that I've now disproven. But so it's just interesting watching this guy, because he really started obviously struggling with his putting when he was probably 14 or 15 or something like that. And so, I mean, here's a kid that never won an AJGA. Like, he was ranked 3,300 in the world when he graduated from high school. Like, he wasn't getting it done. And so I just remember telling him when he was 15, because I don't remember if he shot a million in the qualifying or got knocked out in the first round, but I just told him, I was like, trust me, dude, if you just keep doing what you're doing, you're going to win the U.S. Junior. Like, you are just going to. And I highly doubt I meant it. I was just trying to keep him positive, you know? And so 2014 rolls around. Now, once the strokes gained statistics had come out, like the full catalog, not just strokes gained putting, I was like, I didn't even know that was coming. Like, oh, now this is just a math problem. This is just going to be easy to solve. So then I wrote 500 million cells of Excel code, which sounds way cooler than it actually is. That's just a whole lot of cutting and pasting, but came up with what I thought like is a math-based system. And so a couple of weeks I was having some, you know, it's funny, actually, my elbow surgery was 3 years ago today. But I was starting to have elbow problems. I played in the 2013 US Mid-Am and caught a root on the second hole and screwed my elbow up, shot a smooth 83 in the first round in Birmingham, and drove to Shreveport and gambled instead of waiting around to play the next day. And so the 2 weeks before the Texas Amateur here in Dallas, I went and got a cortisone shot in my right elbow, and the doctor paralyzed my arm. Luckily, just for 2 days, which is still too many days to have your arm paralyzed, and start running the iterations of like, you couldn't give me $100 million to go through the rest of my life without the use of my right arm. Like this is not.
That had
good.
To be scary. I'd be like, is this thing coming back? Or
I was literally cooking dinner one night, and my arm was just curled up like this, and all of a sudden, over like 30 seconds, it just slowly released down, and then just came right back. It was the spookiest feeling ever. Again, I wouldn't suggest going and getting a nerve pinched off in order to do that, but it was pretty damn cool. So, but the guy said, he's like, look, man, you can't play golf for like 6 months. You just need to let whatever inflammation's in there get out of the way. You don't want to do any damage in there. And I'm like, if you only knew how much work I've been putting in on something. I mean, again, it's just crazy looking back at how lucky all of it is. So I called Will and I'm like, I can't play in the Texas Am now. Let me caddy for you. And if you just do what I tell you to do, you're going to win this thing. Because I'm like, I don't care how bad his putting is. He's got to be getting out there and just freaking out or letting the missed 4-footer implode the next tee shot. Like there's just no way. And so we had lunch and I kind of explained to him everything that we were going to do.
So I gotta so you make all these cells, you do all this like just incredible like work. Like how many days, weeks did that even take to where you have a theory of like, okay, this is my math problem solved and I can like take this out? Like was that
it was a good 6 months of work. I mean, it was a lot. I downplay what it was, but my electricity company is all residual based, so I've kind of got some free time. And so once I quit playing again the second time in like 2012, I really did have a lot of free time. And so I was able to play more golf, able to put a lot of effort into this before I called it Decade. And so I went out and caddied for him. And it's just crazy. This is how beat down this kid was. He shot 67 or 68 in the first round, which it was a great round. I mean, but it's not like this life-changing, oh my God round. But he sent me a text after the first round. They're just like, I'll never know how to repay you for today. And I was like, dude, that was the first round. Like, slow down. I mean, it's just that, but that's how beat down this kid was. And I only know it because like I've been there too in this freaking game where it's just such a beating. And so it was amazing. And so obviously he goes on to win the Texas Amateur by 4 that year. And it was just amazing to watch. And again, this is what's so funny about it is kid hits it so good, it's ridiculous. So obviously I'm giving him targets with a sand wedge that are basically at the flag, but with a 7-8 iron that are probably like 5 or 7 yards towards the middle of the green from the flag. And this kid hit every single shot for 18 straight holes exactly where I told him to. And I was driving home thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure if he would have aimed at every single flag today, he would have shot lower. Like I'm seriously questioning all this work. But then I'm also like, that was the most ridiculous ball striking round I've ever seen. Like it just, every single shot was exactly where I told him to hit it. And what I would really love to know in hindsight is how was his distance control though? Because there's 2 coordinates in a golf shot, direction and distance. So while yes, he might have been hitting it directly at our target, he might have been 5 or 6 or 7 yards short or long each time, which would put him in that 15 to 20 foot range that he probably had anyways. The geometry of it's really crazy how you've got to get both direction and distance right for it to really matter. You know, otherwise you're 20 feet instead of 25 feet or just kind of rounding errors. But he hits all the par 5s and 2 and birdies all those and doesn't make any bogeys and just the easiest round ever. And so, you know, that's essentially the genesis. And then, you know, he qualified for the US Junior, which was here in Texas. It was in Houston. I mean, again, if the thing was in New Jersey, I would not have flown to New Jersey. I mean, I'm married with 2 kids, like, but I told my wife, I'm like, dude, this kid can win this tournament. And if he does, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like, there's something cool going on. And so, you know, and if he gets knocked out in the first round, I'll be home that evening. And she's a cool wife. She's like, sure, go for it. So
how'd it feel to be caddying instead of playing?
What's that?
How'd it feel to be caddying instead of playing?
Well, that's in hindsight, that's the vast majority of what Decade actually is now. I can teach you the strategy component in a couple hours. I mean, the tutorial content in the Decade app, exactly how we picked all of Will's approach shot targets is no more than an hour. And then we've got tee shots and putting and obviously other stuff. So all the tutorial content's maybe 4 hours total, but it's all of the mental stuff. And to be really honest, before I created the word Decade, I originally bought the domain beyourownCaddy.com because that's what I realized was going on. Like, he'd hit a bad shot, obviously, every so often, and I would give him the most positive feedback ever. Like, no problem, dude. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to go about this. No big deal. But what's different is I actually meant it. Whereas you can try to say all that stuff to yourself, but you know you're just being rosy and BS-y. But like when I was saying it to him, I'm like, no, dude, you can actually do this. And at that time, honestly, what's crazy is at that time, we had played, I don't know how many rounds of golf together, a whole bunch. He had never beaten me a single time at the point that he wins the Texas Am and US Junior. So theoretically, I would have won the Texas Amateur, which I would not have won the Texas Amateur. I mean, but that's just the shift in mindset. And again, that's why the first E of Decade is expectation. I mean, that is the basis of it all. And, you know, so after he wins the US Junior that summer, that's the SMU coach came up to me, Jason Enlow, who I've He was at SMU when I was at Texas A&M, known each other forever. He came up to me. He's like, I don't know what you're doing with him, but I can tell something obviously is going on. Like, what are you working on here? And I'm like, it's all strategy and mindset, dude. It's just, and he's like, dude, that's what Bryson, DeChambeau needs. He's like, he fires at every single flag. Be thinking about how you could maybe teach this to him down the road. I'm like, okay, cool. We go to the U.S. Amateur, and Will was like third out of the 312 in stroke play qualifying. He beat the world number 4, Marcelo Rozo at the time in the first round. He beat the world number 10, Jordan Ebrugge, who had just played in the Masters after winning the U.S. Pub Links in the second round. And in the third round, he runs into the hot hand, a guy named Zach Olson from Oklahoma State also, who Zach was like 5 under through 15 and Will was 3 under through 15. Will would have beat every other player in the round of, I guess that's 16. He would have won every other match. He just happened to run into the hot hand. Otherwise, he for sure wins the U.S. Amateur that summer. And it would have been just this crazy story. And again, like you brought up Moneyball, like looking back at it, it is such a Moneyball story. This kid comes from out of nowhere, and that's what he almost accomplished. He almost accomplished a Moneyball-esque story that summer. And then when you fast forward, obviously, a few more years to the Masters, when he finished second as a non-member, like that, I'm watching this going, dude, if Hideki can somehow die on these last 2 holes, we're making a movie. Like, this is 100% going to be a movie.